back in 2017, as Trump's lead advisor, he said, our primary goal here is to dismantle the administrative state. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, the administrative state is basically the federal bureaucracy. The administrative state is what keeps us safe. It's what keeps our food, prevents our food from having deadly bacteria in it. It's what prevents our drugs from being contaminated with poisons, not even working well. The administrative state is what makes sure that our cars keep us safe when they crash. The administrative state is what protects us from predatory bankers and insurance companies that would just delight in ripping us off, as they did for years and years and years. The administrative state is what makes sure that if your home has a fire, for example, the insulation in your walls isn't going to kill you before the fire does. The administrative state is what keeps your toys safe. The administrative state is what makes sure that banks don't crush your money with them. And Trump and the 6 Republicans on the Supreme Court are dedicated to destroying or dismantling the administrative state, because the administrative state is the primary enemy of giant corporations that want to pollute, that want to rip off, that want to and also the administrative state in the Biden administration anyway has been going after monopolies. They've been blocking mergers. Most recently Kroger's and Albertsons, as I recall. They just they're in this lawsuit with Google to force Google to break up. It looks like all that's going to go by the wayside. So what we're going to end up with, if what Bannon and Trump tell us is true, and we have no reason not to believe it is that this regulatory framework, the administrative state, is just going to go. It's going to be destroyed or substantially weakened. Now, what will the impact on that be for you and me? Well, first of all, everything will become more dangerous. Right, we will all be more subject to corporate predation. But secondly, and I think this is a big deal, the administrative state is what keeps the economy together. And if you crash the administrative state, you're inviting, at the very least, a recession and possibly a depression. Every Republican president since Nixon, a major recession during their presidency. Not one single Democratic president has had a major recession during their presidency since Nixon. Not one. And the reason why, by and large, is that Republicans come into office and what do? They reduce regulations and they cut taxes, and those things produce recessions. Now, that's fine with the Republicans, because they're there to do the bidding, to do the will of the billionaires, and the big corporations, of the very rich people. And when you have a recession, that is just an incredible buying opportunity for billionaires. Recessions are, I talked about this last week. Recessions are when some of the greatest fortunes in America are made. Recessions are small businesses, homeowners, average people. People are thrown into bankruptcy. People lose their jobs. Their 401k collapses. They have to start selling their stock just to pay the rent. And what happens? Stock prices drop. Housing prices drop. Businesses are in crisis, and small businesses start going out of business, and the vultures, the billionaires, sweep in and buy up the stock and buy up the homes. We saw that in a big way in 2008, 2009, 2007, 2008, excuse me, and buy up the small businesses. We saw that in 2020. And the administrative state prevents a lot of that predation, but that's all going to go away, or much of it is going to go away under the Trump administration. And now that the Chevron deference has been nuked. The Chevron deference basically said that the administrative state, the government agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency, for example, they can, based on the good science that they have available to them, they can make rules and they can enforce those rules as if they were law. And the Supreme Court has said, no, you can't. And so the EPA can no longer, for example, regulate carbon dioxide, because the law that created the EPA doesn't say carbon dioxide. This is, so far, the camel's nose under the tent. It's the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. That is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than a quarter. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular, the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated them, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often, it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to explain, can that really be me? Well, there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully here, right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. Some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with a Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669.
This
Please.
is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, we're back. Happy December, actually. Rabbits. It's the 2nd of December. It's a brand new month. We've got a lot going on. Trump's, steady march toward a neo-fascist America proceeds. We'll talk about that. Also, how was your Turkey Day? How was your Thanksgiving? We had a wonderful time. We actually celebrated Thanksgiving on Saturday because our daughter's parents-in-law, our daughter's wife's parents, whatever, I don't know what that relation is to us. Are they our parents-in-law too? Anyhow, they moved into town on Thanksgiving Day from the East Coast. And so we all got together over at our house on Saturday. We had 14 people, our whole family. It was just wonderful. So I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving time. We are, an entire family of lefties, no discord at all. If you had a MAGA member at your house, how did you handle that? How did it work out? Anyhow, also a lot of news today, and America's future hangs on a Democratic Party decision. I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. In the second hour of our program, a just plain cruel alert. Ken Paxton wallows and revels in cruelty, and David Pepper will join us about the autocracy model. And will most media get banned first? This is typically what happens when countries get taken over by authoritarians. In the third hour of the program, what's to become of the separation of church and state? We've got some really concerning things. And Bernie Sanders says despair is not an option. Here's what we must do. And Bernie says Elon is right about some things. Holy cow. Pigs are flying. I'll tell you all about that in the third hour of the program. But to start out, in addition to my curiosity about your Thanksgiving Day, my HartmannReport.com article today is titled, America's Future Hangs on a Democratic Party Decision. Now, what's the decision, you might ask? The decision that the Democratic Party has to make is who's going to lead it. Jamie Harrison, who's been a guest on this program many times, has resigned or is resigning. He steps down in February. There will be an election in February for a new Democratic Party chair. And, there's actually a number of people who are running for this position. Martin O'Malley the former governor of Maryland, had announced. He also ran for the president in 2016. He was the first guy to say he was running for the DNC chair. He calls himself a turnaround manager. Ken Martin had announced. He was one of several vice chairs. He also runs the Minnesota Democratic Party, has for a long time. A good guy. But my money is on Ben Wickler. And in fact, I openly endorse Ben in today's op-ed titled America's Future Hangs on a Democratic Party Decision. There's a few other people who might be announcing. Chuck Rocha, who's also been on this program a number of times. And Michael Blake, I don't know much about him. Max Rose, don't know much about him. But the point that I make in my article is that America has gone through, we're at the tail end of the third of these 80-year cycles. It was 80 years from the founding of the Republic until the Civil War. It was 80 years from the Civil War to the Great Depression. It was 80 years from the Great Depression, roughly, till now, or at least until the end of the Great Depression in the 1940s, until now. And these 80-year cycles, we've talked about this many times in the program. In fact, we've had Neil Howe on the program, who wrote and co-authored a couple of books with his partner William Strauss. But Neil Howe has a new book out called The Fourth Turning is Here, which we've talked about in the program. In fact, I've read part of it as one of our book reports for the nonprofit stations. And he suggests that basically every 80 years we repeat the same stupid mistakes because the people who would have remembered those mistakes and prevented them have died. And so their knowledge is no longer with us. And, I completely get that. But the larger picture here, and Peter Turchin, who's the author of multiple books on basically the cycles of history, he instead of saying there's the 80-year cycle, he says there's two 40-year cycles that are back-to-back. For 40 years, basically the rich try to seize control of the country. So the first 40 years of the American Republic, up until 1820. Then they do. They actually seize control. In the case of the 1820s, 1830s, it was in the South. They didn't get the whole country. They just got the southern half. They seize control. They establish oligarchy. They take over the political system. And they basically start bleeding average working people dry to enrich themselves. And this reaches a point where basically it just crashes. And that happened in 1860, and we called that the Civil War. That happened in 1929, and we called that the Republican Great Depression. That is happening right now. The crash hasn't happened yet, but the accumulation of massive amounts of wealth and the immiseration is the word that Peter Turchin uses in a piece over at The Guardian. The immiseration of the middle class is happening. And that's, the impoverishment, basically, of the American middle class. So what happens at the end of these cycles, of the 80-year or the two 40-year cycles, as the rich have seized control, the morbidly rich have seized control and crashed the country, which they've done twice now. And they're doing right this moment. The end of these cycles, typically what happens is basically a savior appears, a person who's willing to speak the truth, a person who's willing to call them out. Abraham Lincoln famously said, about the rich in New York. He said, these guys are, jacking up the price of gold, and I hope they cut their throats with it, or words to that effect. I had to look up the quote, but it's a pretty brutal quote. Franklin Roosevelt referred to them as the economic royalists and said, it would be natural that they would reach out and grasp for political power to help secure their economic power. And that's what's going on right now. And that's why I believe we elected Joe Biden in 2020. And Joe Biden actually was the first president since Ronald Reagan to repudiate Reagan's kicking off this 40-year cycle of the rich seizing control. And he put a 15% minimum tax on corporations. He raised taxes on rich people. He refused to renew Trump's tax break for billionaires. He basically put the country back together. The problem was that the Biden administration, Joe Biden himself, and the head of the DNC, Jamie Harrison, were so completely incompetent at messaging to the American people over the last 4 years the accomplishments of the Biden administration. At the same time that you had this huge right-wing media capture with, right-wing podcasts getting hundreds of millions of dollars. Ben Meiselas has, the Midas Touch Network. They actually have a larger podcast, more reach than Joe Rogan. But Joe Rogan gets $200 million, I believe. Look it up. He gets a pile of cash. And, Ben and Midas Touch, they get nothing, other than, they got a nice Substack newsletter. But, the right subsidizes this, and that's why more than 50% of Americans thought we were in a recession on Election Day last month. I mean, think about that for a minute. This is, the triumph of BS media and gaslighting, Republican gaslighting, over the truth. So the position that I take in my op-ed today over at HartmannReport.com, my daily take here, is that we need to, clearly and explicitly talk about the successes of the Biden administration, condemn the excesses of the morbidly rich. We need a populist to lead us, essentially. And right now, we have no leadership, no elected leadership in the House, the Senate, or the White House who have any power, any real power. I mean, yeah, Chuck Schumer is still in charge of the Senate, the Democrats in the Senate, at least theoretically. I think he should step down, frankly. And Hakeem Jeffries, who has never really had an opportunity to assert power, is the speaker in waiting in the House. But, because we don't have control of any of these branches of government, the head of the Democratic Party is going to have a huge influence. And this is why I think Ben Wickler is the guy. He ran the Democratic Party in Wisconsin. He runs it right now. He's been responsible for some real victories there. I mean, genuine victories. And he gets it. He understands the cycles of history. He understands how to message. He's kind of a Bernie Democrat. And so I'm throwing my support behind Ben Wickler for chair of the DNC. Now, the election won't be until February. It's going to be in 5 weeks from now, I think. But now's the time to let your elected Democratic officials, they're the ones who will vote, know your preferences.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
I'll be right back. What's going on with with Trump's appointments for his upcoming presidency? It's starting to get weird and a little scary. Stay tuned. And welcome back. Picking up your calls here. Let's see. David in Columbus, Ohio. WGRN, you're listening to, is a nonprofit station, isn't it, or are they a commercial station?
Hello?
Hey, David. Is WGRN a commercial station or a nonprofit station?
Nonprofit.
Oh, great. So they're still
local programming.
So they're broadcasting right now. Okay, cool. So what's on your mind?
Yeah, I just heard a good comment speech by Senator Whitehouse on at COP29. He talked all about global warming and the costs and the insurance costs and the energy costs. And I think that is information that we need to promote and proliferate throughout the country so that people understand where the costs are coming from. It's not just Biden raising costs, it's the energy crisis that's causing the problem. And I think if we understand that, then we can move forward.
So this was Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, you said?
Yeah, he spoke at COP29.
Oh, really? He flew down to, where was it held this year?
I guess. I'm not sure. I was going to get his speech from their office, so yeah. I'll tell you all about it when I get it. Sheldon Whitehouse is
an amazingly good senator. I mean, I have so much respect for this guy, not just because he comes on our program. He's one of a handful who are willing to come on the program, and he in particular, he's been calling out the Supreme Court. I think that's great. It's just he's just a great guy. David, thank you. Thanks for the call and thanks for the information. Okay. I didn't know about that. Michael in Gainesville, Florida. Hey, Michael, what's on your mind today?
Yes, hi. I wanted to encourage you to open your mind to having a discussion. Imaginary, perhaps. You could have a little figure there next to you that you have a mock discussion with Elon Musk, because you have a core truth about, you speak truth about many different topics, but the area you need to get to right now, pragmatically speaking, is who's in power. And Mr. Musk, you do have a common core, and that is, he's talking about efficiency with his Dogecoin and all that, which implemented could increase efficiency, the Dogecoin, as far as tracking goods and all that. That's what it was created for, not for gambling. But I don't want to get sidetracked here. Your commonality is that you want to do the most good for the most people, and that's to increase efficiency and GDP. And your core truth is that caring for the least of us creates a culture of abundance. That changes the mindset, and it changes the economies of cultures. And I think you have a common
agree,
mindset.
but I don't think Elon Musk agrees with either of those positions.
Well, no, I think when he talks about increasing efficiency, he thinks, by cutting government that increases efficiency. He literally doesn't understand, because he also has that concept that you understand, which is his idea is that survival of fittest is truth. And that's, he's following the mandate,
his definition of the
not
fittest
of God, but of natural law and of natural, but he doesn't understand the science, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I think he just thinks the fittest are the richest. Michael, thank you. Nice idea. Nice suggestion. I appreciate it. It's 20 minutes past the hour. I'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls as we roll here into December. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. Between 40 years of Ronald Reagan's neoliberalism destroying the American middle class and all the just horrors of January 6th and the Trump presidency, America's waking up, and that's a really good thing. There's actually, some books coming out about this. Mine, The Hidden History of Democracy. Neil Howe's The Fourth Turning is here. And it looks like a moment of American renaissance upon us, if our media doesn't screw it up, which raises the question, can we have democracy and Fox News? Can the two coexist? Like, when Fox News runs chyrons saying that essentially Joe Biden is a wannabe dictator who's throwing Trump in jail because he's his political opponent. There's a whole rant about this and an in-depth analysis of what can we do with regard to repairing our media here in the United States over at HartmannReport.com. I think you'll find it interesting. Check it out.
40 years of Reagan's game, the middle class forgot its name. Unions broken, wages bled, dreams of millions left for dead. The billionaires keep stacking gold while working hands are bought and sold. But now we stand, the choice is clear. Do we fight or disappear? Neoliberalism's death grip tight, or a new day rising in the night. Will we bow or will we fight? The future's calling, burn the light.
There you go. The death grip of neoliberalism, which, has had the Democratic Party in its clutches until 2020 when Joe Biden said, nope, I'm not going to be a neoliberal president. I'm going to be an FDR president. And God bless him. By the way, he pardoned his son. This is, the big hysteria. I just want to be very clear about what he pardoned Hunter for. There's a check box when you buy a gun and you fill out the federal paperwork, for the background check. There's a checkbox that says, I am not on drugs. I don't take drugs, or words to that effect. An estimated 20 million people last year bought a gun, checked that box, and were at the time using marijuana. This is a number there's not a lot of dispute around this number, because we know the percentage of people in America who use pot. We know how many people buy guns. 20 million people. How many people were prosecuted for checking that box as a standalone crime? 0. How many were, and probably 15 or 20 million did the same thing last year and the year before that and the year before. Has anybody ever been prosecuted for this as a standalone crime? Nobody ever in history. Last year, 2 people were prosecuted for checking that box, but it was part of a larger prosecution that involved running drugs and guns and bigger prosecutions. So that was the first thing. He was prosecuted for checking that box when he was, in fact, using drugs, along with 20 million other Americans. And the second is for a year or two, he didn't pay his taxes. The IRS tracked him down, said, pay your taxes. He paid his taxes in full, and he paid all the fines. Now, the IRS has recovered over $10 billion from billionaires who didn't pay their taxes, using the exact same process. Here's the letter. You owe us money. Send us that money. Oh, okay, sorry, here's the money. Have any of those billionaires gone to prison? Have any of them even been prosecuted for not paying their taxes after they paid up? Zero. None. It doesn't happen. The IRS doesn't like to throw people in jail unless the people are just genuine scofflaws. If you just fail to pay your taxes for a year or 2 years and they catch you and you pay up promptly, they say thank you very much as long as you pay the fine and the fee. I mean, it can be very expensive. And Hunter Biden paid. So billionaires don't get prosecuted for this. Rich people don't get prosecuted for this. But Hunter Biden got prosecuted for it. And what Joe Biden said is, my son was the victim of a political prosecution, and he's 100% right. The special prosecutor was put into place against Hunter Biden on the tail end of the Trump administration. This was a Trump vengeance operation, which is what Kash Patel and some of his other appointees, it looks like they're planning to set up the FBI for going forward. So thank God he pardoned Hunter. I've been saying on this program for a long, long time, please pardon your son. God bless him. Meanwhile, Tom Nichols over at The Atlantic talking about Kash Patel as the appointee to run the FBI. He says, you have the makings, of a not-so-slow authoritarian takeover of the United States government. He said, this is part of Trump's plan to transform the FBI into, quote, an excellent instrument of revenge against anyone Trump or Patel identifies as an internal enemy, which in Trump's world is anyone who criticizes Donald Trump. And this is, rather concerning that this guy, I'm going to play a clip of Kash Patel on the other side of the break here at the bottom of the hour, what he has to say about people like me and the rest of the people on this network that you're listening to right now. I think it's worth being concerned. I'll fill you in on that, and I'll pick up your calls on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
It's the place where despair is not an option. I'll be right back with you. It's the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive, for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. That is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than 1/4. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget, just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated them, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often, it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to explain, can that really be me? Well, there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. Some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with a Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669. Please. Did you you know that every weekday we send out an email before the show giving you all the topics coming up so you can be fully informed and ready to interact with our program? Or that after the show we send out Sue's Stack, a list of every topic I've discussed along with clickable hot links to every source of information I've shared with you on the air? It's all completely free and available over at thom.tv, THOM.tv. Check it out.
Santa's team's on display, but Dita's here, they got something to say. Rudolph needs hay that's organic and clean, and a cruelty-free harness with a vegan sheen. Run, Rudolph, Peter's on your trail. Checking those antlers, your diet can't fail. Run, Rudolph, no stress on that sleigh. He'll shut Santa down if you're not okay. Santa grabbed the reins, but they shouted not so fast. Rudolph needs massages before he can blast. Are those sleigh bells hypoallergenic, my dude? And where's the old milk to go with this food? Run, Rudolph.
It's a politically correct Christmas song. Oh, my. Alrighty. Bill Barr absolutely refused to work with Kash Patel. When Trump was thinking about putting him in a high position in the FBI, Barr said, no way. He tried to appoint him to a high position in the CIA, and CIA Director Gina Haspel said, no way. These were Trump appointees, by the way. And this is a clip of Kash Patel on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast, talking about what he plans, his thoughts about the future of the American press.
Everywhere. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice.
Yeah. And the guy's a former federal prosecutor. He knows what he's doing. And if he's running the FBI, to my colleagues in the media, look out. Or, if you've ever posted anything against Donald Trump on Facebook or Twitter, might be a good time to start deleting. No, do not obey in advance. Whew. Also, Pete Hegseth, this is the last one, and then I want to pick up your calls. Pete Hegseth's mother, back in 2018, you probably already heard this, it's been kind of all over the media this weekend, wrote him a letter when he had... with his first wife, he had an affair with a woman who became his second wife, and I believe he got her pregnant. And then while he was with his second wife, he impregnated a woman that he worked with at this veterans charity he was the head of, and she had a baby before he divorced his second wife, and then he started attacking his second wife in the divorce proceedings, and that provoked his mother, Pete Hegseth's mother, to write him this letter, quote, on behalf of all the women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way, I say get some help and take an honest look at yourself. I have no respect for any man who belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. The letter goes on. He had allegedly mistreated his second wife, and his mother says, for you to try to label her as unstable for your advantage, your own advantage, is despicable and abusive. Is there any sense of decency left in you? She did not ask for or deserve any of what has come to her by your hand. Neither did Meredith, referencing his first wife. Samantha was his second wife. And then, of course, while he was with his second wife, he was getting it on with Jennifer Roche, who's an executive producer of Fox News, who is now his third wife, who he impregnated while he was living with his second wife. And she delivered a baby girl in August 2017, and they got married in 2019 at the Trump National Golf Club. His mother continues in the letter, son, I have tried to keep quiet about your character and behavior, but after listening to the way you made Samantha feel today, I cannot stay silent. We are on the good side, and that is not you. It's time, this is his mother again writing, it is time for someone, I wish it was a strong man, to stand up to your abusive behavior and call it out, especially against women. We still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and lack of character. It damages our relationship further. And then she said, she also described him, his abusive behavior over the years as, quote, dishonesty, sleeping around, betrayal, debasing, and belittling women. And she further said, don't even bother to reply. She said, quote, because you twist and abuse everything I say anyway. This is like sounding to me like a guy who's either an out-of-control alcoholic or a psychopath. I don't know him. I've never met him. I have no idea. But wow. I mean, I can't imagine what a child of mine would have to do to provoke me to write a letter like that to them. Can you? And now we've got these newest revelations from when he ran Veterans for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America. These are two right-wing veterans organizations, and he was using one of them basically, according to the people who worked with him in this whistleblower complaint, basically as his own personal piggy bank, well, I'll share the details here with you. This was during an event in Louisiana. He was accused of fostering a workplace environment rife with sexism in a 7-page report compiled by employees and sent to senior management of CVA. During an event in Louisiana, Hegseth reportedly took his team to a strip club where he became so intoxicated. I'm reading from Mediaite, by the way, by David Gilmour, where he became so intoxicated he had to be restrained from joining the dancers on stage. Again, these are allegations. The whistleblower continued as if in disbelief. A Fox News contributor with the rank of captain at the time in the National Guard was in a strip club trying to dance with the strippers. They were just blown away that this happened. Female staffer who had to restrain Hegseth at the strip club alleged that a different male staffer had attempted to sexually assault her there. She filed a complaint with the EEOC. The matter was settled with a payment and a non-disclosure agreement. And then she was subject to, quote, experiencing reprisal, and said that, according to the whistleblower report, said, quote, this has become a hostile and intimidating working environment, end quote. On another occasion, they at the Sheraton Hotel, he was one of two people who yelled, kill all Muslims multiple times in what the staffer described as a, quote, drunk and violent manner, embarrassing the entire organization. He passed out in the back of the party bus, then urinated in front of the hotel where CVA's team was staying. The report also says that Hegseth, who was married at the time, and other members of his management team sexually pursued the organization's female staffers, whom they divided into two groups, the party girls and the not party groups. Hegseth is accused, again, I'm reading from this Mediaite.com report. Hegseth is accused of treating CVA's finances as a, quote, personal expense account, end quote, and funding lavish parties and excursions. The whistleblower email said, quote, he had treated the organization's funds like they were a personal expense account for partying, drinking, and using CVA events as little more than opportunities to hook up with women on the road. Wow. I'm shocked. It takes a lot to shock me that Trump would appoint this guy. I mean, this is what happens when you don't do FBI background checks. You learn this stuff through the media. So what's on your mind? How are your holidays? What do you think is going on? Your thoughts on the future of the Democratic Party, the Republicans, everything else? Tony in Flushing, New York. Hey, Tony, thanks for listening to us on Sirius XM. What's on your mind today?
You know, Tom, great show. I'm a new listener. You know, Tom, I'm living in Queens, and I am shocked that, you know, like everybody else, that he won. It's just, in fact, I'm a stone's throw away, a train ride away from Trump's old house. And I'm going to tell you, Tom, it's disgusting here. We got a convict who should be in jail. And you know what's going on? I wanted to ask you, Tom. With the Affordable Care Act, I already quote, because I'm a cancer patient, and I know other people who've been getting care. I'm over it now, thank God, going for follow-ups. Mm-hmm. But what does that have to? I already called my state, where I go through the insurance for New York Gov. They told me not to worry because it's signed into law, and New York is a separate entity, like they fund it. But what does that that have to do with all these other people? Like, we're all on pins and needles. I got old people telling me, my mom's old friends who are still alive post-COVID, they're worried about Social Security, Tom. They're worried about their insurance. We got a president coming in, and people are afraid of, like, rights that they shouldn't be worried about.
Yeah, for sure, Tony. And they're legitimate fears. Trump has surrounded himself with people who have at various times called for fully privatizing Medicare. In fact, it's part of Project 2025, make Medicare Advantage the first choice, for destroying the Affordable Care Act. In fact, during his first presidency, he tried to destroy the Affordable Care Act.
McCain stopped it, thank God.
Yeah, one vote in the Senate, John McCain stopped that, but it would have been replaced with nothing. Suddenly 20 million people would have just lost their insurance, actually far more than 20 million, because it would have killed the Medicaid expansion as well to the states. So, I got.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is what's bothering me as a citizen, lifelong New Yorker, okay? And I despised everything about Trump. I mean, geez, he spunk in the 80s here when he owned the Generals. The question is this, though. Since the healthcare is so ingrained almost 15 years and it's working, he really has no plan. Does he really have, I don't want to say the Kunyanis, he can't touch this if he has nothing in place, because you can't just leave people floating in a river.
Yeah. Well, you can, Tony. I mean, this is what Milei is doing in Argentina right now. He's cutting all the social welfare programs. It's what's been slowly going on across multiple European countries that adopted neoliberalism. It's why Macron is in trouble in France right now because he's pursuing an austerity agenda. It's why multiple conservative governments in the United Kingdom have gotten in trouble. They've been nibbling away at and trying to privatize the National Health Service.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, I'll give you a quick shout out. I found out about you through Howard Stern.
Oh, really?
I mentioned you on the show. Yep.
God bless him. When was that?
It was when I first got serious. He mentioned Thom Hartmann and Alex Bennett, another old-time radio guy. You were on at the same time.
Oh my God, that's great. I love Howard Stern. I used to listen when I used to visit New York. I used to wake up with him. Tony, thanks a lot for the call. Great to hear.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep. Past the hour.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Well, I woke up with Howard Stern on the radio. That's it. Just to clarify. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Lamar in Pasadena, California. Hey, Lamar, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm great, but I'll get better, Lamar. What's up?
That's good. Yeah, I've been hearing rumblings about Biden possibly nominating, or hopefully nominating, Jack Smith to be a judge, federal judge, so he wouldn't get fired. I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that. I
have not heard that anywhere, Lamar. I think it's a brilliant idea, but I don't know if there's even time right now.
Oh, really?
I mean, a lot of these federal judges that are being pushed through right now have been in the pipeline for well over a year.
Okay. Well, I'll check into that and see if they can put him in the pipeline. And
yeah. Where did you hear it? Can I track this down?
Golly, I'm not sure if I heard it on KPFK or if I heard it through some text. I get a lot of text messages from.
Well, I think it would be a great idea, Lamar. I got to tell you, I would love to see Jack Smith as a federal judge. And maybe Merrick Garland too. I don't know. That's what he always did before, and I think he's probably a pretty good judge. He was a lousy head of the Justice Department in some ways. In other ways, he brought a lot of integrity and pride to the Justice Department. Lamar, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Martin in Steubenville, Ohio. Hey, Martin, what's on your mind today?
Oh yeah. Well, with the pardoning of Hunter, it seems to me that more than just Hunter's getting pardoned, like the whole 10-year period of what was going on with the money coming over from China. And the other thing is that January 6th pipe bomb, they have the guy on the film. Why don't they catch that guy?
That's a good question. I don't know. And
because she's a federal plant. That bomb was not a real bomb. You hung up on me before when I called when you had Congressman Pocahontas on. That is a Fed plant bomb. It was fake. They are covering that up.
Right,
wait
Martin.
till we get in
Martin.
power. They're going to.
QAnon is calling for you. You can go back. Oh my. Yeah. So, I don't have any other nonprofit calls on the line right now. So let me just say I continue to be very concerned about these appointments. And what I'm wondering, I mentioned Hegseth and I mentioned Kash Patel for the FBI. And what I'm wondering is going to happen is whether Trump is actually going to be able to pull off recess appointments. He's been talking about this. He talked about it before the election. He's talked about it after the election. He talked about it last week. And with a recess appointment, there will be no investigations of these people. And, an awful lot is going to depend on John Thune and whether he's willing to put the Senate into recess. And John Thune, in some ways has been a loyal soldier to Donald Trump, and in some ways not. And so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But eventually, we're going to find out, America is going to find out who these people are and what they're all about, whether it's from them being in office or whether it's from them being, vetted. So stay tuned, as it were. It's 10 minutes before the hour. I'll be right back with you. Stay tuned. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. So a lot of people are wondering, why is it in America that we can't have nice things? Why don't we have, the same things every other democracy has? Every other democracy in the world has a national health care system of some form, and everybody is covered. We don't. We've got 27 million uninsured people and over 100 million underinsured people. Why is that? Why is it that every other country in the world offers college education very inexpensively, if not for free, and for here you go to debt? Why is it that we've got our public schools crumbling and other countries are doing well? Why is it that we've got Medicare being taken apart by this Medicare Advantage scam and nobody will do anything about it? Well, it turns out the reason why it boils down to one thing, one Supreme Court decision, Citizens United, legalizing the bribery of our politicians. There's a whole rant about this over at HartmannReport.com. I think you're going to find it very, very useful. Check it out.
They say wealth brings power, but what's the cost? Our freedoms fade and our voices lost. Once we had hope, we had a say, but now the billionaires pave their way. They build their mansions, they buy their laws, while we're left to wonder, where's the cost? They've taken our future, turned it to gold, and left the rest of us out in the cold. Will the morning rich ever go back to the days when they cared, or is that off track? Can they be good American citizens once more, or have they locked us out, closed the door?
Welcome back, 52 minutes past the hour. Bob in Rome, New York. Hey, Bob, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Tom, I appreciate you, and I love the show, and I agree with you on a lot of things. But Hunter Biden's crimes were, I agree with you that they were persecutions. But we missed the bigger point that what Hunter Biden did should have been illegal. If Joe Biden was the president of Ukraine and Hunter Biden came to the United States and did what he did, he would have been indicted and convicted under the Corrupt Foreign Practices Act.
Wait a minute. Are you talking
illegal
about
for the United-
checking the box on the gun thing and not paying his taxes, or are you talking about taking a paycheck from the Ukrainian corporation?
I'm talking about taking the paycheck from Ukrainian corporation.
Okay, so if we're going to go after Hunter for that, should we go after Jared Kushner for taking $2 billion from the Saudis?
Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, and let me add to this, Bob, since we're kind of amplifying the hypocrisy here, and I understand what you're saying completely. If Hunter Biden gets prosecuted by Republicans for for checking the box saying I'm not using drugs when he bought a gun, which he only owned for 7 days or 9 days, and an estimated 20 million of other Americans did the same, should the FBI start tracking down those 20 million Americans and prosecuting them for checking that box when they were using marijuana?
I agree with you on all of that. It's not the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, what's the point you're trying to make?
The point I'm trying to make is that we have a problem with corruption, which certainly there's no comparison between the Bidens and the Trumps. The Trumps are so much more corrupt than the Bidens.
Yeah.
It's not a comparison.
I agree that when Hunter Biden took $1 million a year job serving on the board of a foreign company, it was only because his dad was vice president, and he shouldn't have done it. And he has come out and said that I shouldn't have done that. And I don't know, how else you can make that whole. Hopefully, it's a good lesson both for him and for the entire Democratic Party. But Trump, none of Trump's kids have said I shouldn't have done that. I mean, Trump. I mean, talk about nepotism. I mean, Hunter was never even given a job in the government. Trump puts his daughter in charge of things, and she gets, $25 million worth of patents and trademarks from China. He puts his son-in-law in charge of COVID policy, and he gets $2 billion from the Saudis. I mean,
I understand. I agree with that, Tom. But the problem we have is that the rich, the oligarchs, and that includes both the Democrats and the Republicans, because they chose not to make this action illegal because their families benefit.
No, there is nothing illegal about anybody getting a job on the board of a foreign corporation. What Hunter did was not illegal, Bob. It's not prosecutable.
I know it's not.
It looked bad.
It should be.
Well,
it should be.
Okay, so
listen to my argument again, if you would, please. If Hunter Biden were the son of Ukrainian
No, I heard your argument, and it's A, I don't believe it, and B, we don't live under Ukrainian law. The fact of the matter is that any American can get any job they want with any corporation anywhere in the world and take as much money for that job as they want. But when an American gets a job because of their family's connections, I agree with you, that's corrupt. It's just not criminally corrupt.
Right.
And whether we should make that criminally corrupt, then you get into a whole bunch of shades of gray and a whole bunch of nuance, and potentially a whole bunch of prosecutions. I mean, Mike Flynn taking money from Turkey and lying about it to the FBI and having contacts with Russia and lying about it. Well, he actually got prosecuted for that. Trump pardoned him. Anyhow, Bob, I got to move on. Thank you for the call. Good point. And here we are. On the other side of the break, just plain crazy alert, Ken Paxton wallowing in cruelty, and David Pepper. Stay with us. We'll be right
back. You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
In addition to bringing you the Thom Hartmann program here on Free Speech TV and Video Media Online, we also have a whole set of ways you can interact with us and tools you can use to spread the word about the importance of democracy and the threats to it in our republic. First, there's your daily homework. Sue Nethercutt puts together a daily email newsletter that has a link to every story I discuss on the air, so you can find my sources and you can share them with your friends. It's free and you can sign up at ThomHartmann.com. Second, I publish my daily take every day over at the HartmannReport.com website. That's also free if you want the daily 5 days a week rant in your inbox. No ads either. Third, we have the podcasts. There's the free 1-hour version of our daily show that's advertising supported. You can find find that wherever you get your podcasts normally. And then there's also the podcast of the entire 3-hour show with no advertisements, and that's available by subscription over at thomhartmann.com. So check them all out at thomhartmann.com and hartmannreport.com. It's the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. That is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than 1/4. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated them, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to explain, can that really be me? there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully here, right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. Some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with a Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669. Please.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome to the second hour of our program here, the first day of the brand new month. And David Pepper was supposed to be with us right now. I'm not sure what happened, so we'll get to that, or we won't as time goes on. But there's a few other things I wanted to talk about. The Attorney General for Texas. This is our just plain cruel alert. The Attorney General for Texas, Ken Paxton, the guy who was charged with being a criminal, shall we say, a wildly cruel and corrupt Christian nationalist who was impeached by House Republicans last year and kept his job thanks to the more MAGA Senate Republicans, is how he's described in a piece over at friendlyatheist.com. He is suing a homeless shelter in Texas for, quote, operating a taxpayer-funded drug paraphernalia giveaway next to an elementary school. It is true that Sunrise Homeless Navigation Center is in the neighborhood of an elementary school. And it is true that homeless people and drug addicts go there, and some of the drug addicts go there to get clean needles to prevent them from getting AIDS or Hep C or other diseases that are transmitted by people using needles. And it is true that these people really need help. I mean, they're genuinely homeless and genuinely drug addicted. And Ken Paxton's trying to shut them down, saying that there's a school and the neighborhoods don't like homeless people. But he doesn't want to replace it with anything. What are you going to do? You shut that down, and where are these homeless? I mean, it's just going to make the situation worse, right? So the charity is fighting back, and they're saying we have a religious liberty under the First Amendment. We have the right to do things because of our faith. Now, this is something that the Supreme Court has reaffirmed over and over and over again. You don't have to bake a cake for a queer couple if your religion doesn't like queer people, right? You don't have to officiate at a wedding. You don't have to provide services in many ways to people if your religion opposes it. Used to be they quoted Christianity to prevent, to withhold services from black people. Now it's queer people. But, bottom line, and now Paxton is basically saying, you can't use religion to provide. This is kind of the opposite of it, right? The Supreme Court has said, yes, religion allows you to be a bigot, basically. Well, here comes a church. This is the Sunrise Community Church is part of the Reformed Church of America, which is generally a liberal Protestant branch. And, they run homeless shelters and things. I mean, that is literally doing what Jesus said in Matthew 25, serving the least of these among you. When you do it unto them, you've done it unto me, he said. So anyhow, the Alan Graham, the Texas Christian nonprofit's Mobile Loaves and Fishes and Community First Village, he said, thankfully, the First Amendment, federal law, and state law protect churches that serve people experiencing homelessness across our country, even when governments attempt to restrict their work. So keep an eye on this. This is going to get interesting. This is from the lawsuit. Again, I'm quoting from friendlyatheist.com. Paxton says it spends dozens of pages describing all the ways people in the community are disturbed by the people serviced by Sunrise, but he has no plan B to help them out. He wants to shut down the Christian ministry without offering any kind of alternative, and the unhoused people aren't going to go away. They add, if the Republicans running the state government want to give the city enough funding to open new shelters away from local schools, that would be one thing. But that's not the case here. Paxton just wants to shut this one down. So anyhow, they note that these faith-based arguments, like I said, they've had some success with the Supreme Court. Will they succeed here? Will the Supreme Court say, yes, based on your faith, you can be a bigot and deny services to some people, but based on your faith, you can't continue. We're not going to say that based on your faith, you can continue to serve the poor and the homeless. Even though that's the essence at the core, of Christianity. It is at the core of the Sermon on the Mount. It is at the core of Matthew 25, the parable of the goats and the sheep. Look it up. But no, they're saying, not us. Meanwhile, will most media get banned first? I mean, this is something very interesting. Well, also, actually, let me just the separation of church and state, religion and public schools being tested by Christian conservatives. The Texas State Board of Education is going to be voting next month on whether to allow public school districts, this is kind of along the same lines, to opt into a new elementary school curriculum featuring Bible-based lessons. And this material got narrow approval in the Republican State Board of Education, 8-7 vote. So all the Democrats vote on the board said no, and 3 Republicans joined them and said no, but they still had 8 Republicans who want the Bible in the curriculum for teachers in elementary schools in Texas. And what's bizarre about this, this is Christian nationalism on steroids, right? What's bizarre about this is that teachers don't have to teach this, but if they do, they get $60 per child per year for putting, this is in their 5th grade classrooms, for putting the Bible into, or religion. Now, let me be very clear. I am not only not opposed to teaching about religion in schools, I'm actually in favor of it. I think that we should have comparative religion classes. I think people need to understand the difference between Judaism and Christianity and Hinduism and the ancient Nordic religions. We have one regular caller into the program who's always Happy Freya's Day, right? Freya is the goddess, a Norwegian goddess, right? There are still people who are practicing Druidism and who are practicing some of the ancient religions. We should be talking about all these things in public schools. And pointing out, the various mythologies, because these are all, really mythologies, and the history associated with it. But to advocate belief in any of them is a completely different thing. And that's what they're trying to do in Texas. This is Mark Chauncey. He's a religion studies professor at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. He says, quote, "When a public school plays religious favorites by emphasizing Christianity more than any other tradition, and by teaching about Christianity in a way that's likely to promote encouragement of Christianity's religious claims, then that violates all of our religious freedom." Now, Texas is not alone in this. On January 1st, in 4 weeks, a law goes into effect in Louisiana that requires all teachers K through 12 to post the 10 Commandments in their classrooms. Now, there's an appeal. It's on hold right now, but that's when it's supposed to start. In Oklahoma, the top, Ryan Walters, the top education official for the state, bought a bunch of Trump Bibles and wants to incorporate the Bible into lesson plans. There's a lawsuit there, too. And Walters, the guy in Oklahoma, has even said that teachers who don't teach the Bible could lose their license to teach in Oklahoma. So it's getting pretty wild. In fact, it's getting very wild out there. So what's going on with this? We'll be back on the other side of the break. It's 15 minutes past the hour. Stick around. We got a lot to talk about.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
15 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment. And welcome back. And let's see who's been on hold here the longest. Alfredo in Mountain View, California. Hey, Alfredo, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
I am great, but I'll get better, Alfredo. How about you?
You give me hope, Tom.
Well, that's good.
Every day.
I have hope.
Yeah.
I have high hopes. Yeah. I think that the Republicans are going to overreach radically over the next 2 years, particularly over the first 6 months. And I think it's going to blow up in their faces. And I think in 2026, we're going to get the Senate back and probably the House. And I think in 2028, we're going to take back the White House. If we put a Bernie-style Democrat in charge of the DNC, and that's what Ben Wickler is, and that's why I'm advocating for him.
Well, I hope you're right, Tom.
Me too.
And that kind of prompts me to my the purpose of my call is this. I think the reason why we lost the election is because of the media, and particularly the social media. Mm-hmm. There is no regulatory agency. They are self-regulated, and these are TikTok and Twitter and so on, cesspools of white supremacy, lies, and propaganda and garbage. And
I agree.
Young people, they're all plugged into this garbage, and that's why we lost the election. How are we going to battle this? And that was my question to you.
Well, there are some Republicans. Josh Hawley wrote an entire book that completely agrees with me. I don't know if he still holds this position. Probably not, but it entirely agrees with the positions that I took in my book, The Hidden History of Big Brother in America, which is that we need to do away with Section 230 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996. Section 230 basically says that social media operates outside the realm of news, of newspapers, and of, in other words, as publishers, or of electronic media that can be regulated by the FCC, radio, television, satellite, and that they're their own little special, unique case. And that made Mark Zuckerberg the richest millennial in America. He owns 1/50th of all millennial wealth in the country in his pockets. Yeah. And it created some real empires here. And I think that we should. And I've told the story before. Back Nigel Peacock, who, it kind of does a lot of our back end stuff for this show and for my publications. Nigel, we've worked together for decades. And Nigel and I used to run forums on CompuServe before Section 230, and we had to vet every single message that was posted. I mean, people could post things and they went public, but we had, 24 hours to clean anything up. That was kind of what was accepted under the FCC at the time. And
correct,
and it cost it cost CompuServe money. They had to pay us. They were paying us good money. We had about 30 people who worked with us. They paid us about $20,000 a month. And Zuckerberg should be doing that, and so should Elon Musk with Twitter. They should have content moderators. And by the way, Blue Sky has hired a bunch of content moderators. They're doing it right. God bless them.
Yeah, but what's going to happen if the content moderators are Republicans, Trumpists? Look always.
I get it. No, I really think that, just the rules that apply to newspapers. If you publish something that's defamatory or libelous,
I agree.
You have some responsibility for it. I mean, it just should be that simple. The New York Times would not publish stuff that shows up on Twitter. Why is Twitter allowed to publish it? I don't get it. I got to run, Alfredo. Thank you for the call. Spot on. It's, 19 and a half minutes past the hour. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. Stay with us. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. Recently, I did an op-ed and a little rant here about what happens when you raise the top income tax rate on morbidly rich people to 90%, and how, that helps reduce income inequality and funds the government, all kinds of good, positive things. What about corporate taxes? We really need to go back to the 50% top corporate income tax rate that we had under Dwight Eisenhower, for example. The reason why is not on the assumption that we're going to collect all that money, but what it does is it causes corporations to change their behavior, to do things to try to get tax deductions so they don't have to pay that in taxes. And what are the main things they do? They develop new products. They do research and development. They become more competitive. They open up new stores. They pay their employees better. They offer better benefits. All of these things are 100% tax deductible and thus lower their corporate income taxes and help out America. You can read all about it over at HartmannReport.com.
From dawn's early light to the setting sun, we rise each day, the work's never done. With calloused hands and dreams so bright, we build this nation day and night. Work is the heart of America's pride.
Welcome back. 21 minutes past the hour. So Alexander Vindman is pushing back on Elon Musk. This was pretty amazing. I saw this over the holiday weekend. Actually, it was Wednesday, I think, that this happened of last week, day before Thanksgiving. Musk posted on his on X, quote, Vindman is on the payroll of Ukrainian oligarchs and has committed treason against the United States for which he will pay the appropriate penalty. Now, this is Alexander Vindman. He's the lieutenant colonel who listened in on the conversation that Donald Trump had with President Zelensky when he tried to blackmail him into finding, creating dirt on Joe Biden. And Vindman reported this, and the report became the basis of Trump's impeachment. Nobody is disputing that Trump actually had that conversation with Zelensky. Zelensky has verified it. Trump has verified it. Trump says it was a beautiful conversation. Trump got impeached for this in the House of Representatives, and the spineless Republicans, led by Mitch McConnell, failed to convict him in the House so he could run again for president. You can thank the Republicans in the Senate had two opportunities. I got a note this morning from Jim Turr, an old friend, saying, do you think that the Republicans will stand up to Trump this time? with these nominees. And my reply to Jim was, they didn't stand up to him on the impeachments. What makes you think they're going to stand up to him now? Now, I realize the margins are different, and, maybe something's going to happen here. But anyhow, Elon is threatening Vindman with death for setting up Trump's first impeachment. This is pretty crazy stuff. And Vindman replied. He said, Elon, here you go again, making false and completely unfounded accusations without providing any specifics. That's the kind of response one would expect from a conspiracy theorist. What oligarch? What treason? He said, let me help you out with the facts. I don't take and have never taken money from any oligarchs, Ukrainian or otherwise. I do run a nonprofit foundation, HereRightMattersFoundation.org, to help Ukraine defend itself from Russia's unprovoked attack on February 24, 2022. I served in the military for nearly 22 years, and my loyalty is to supporting the U.S. Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's why I reported presidential corruption when I witnessed an effort to steal an election. That report was in classified channels, and when called by Congress to testify about presidential corruption, I did so as required by law. You, Elon, Vindman writes, appear to believe you can act with impunity and are attempting to silence your critics. I am not intimidated. Now, Vindman has also announced that he's moved over to Blue Sky, where I encourage you to go follow him, Alexander Vindman. And, of course, his brother Eugene Vindman, I believe, was just elected to the House of Representatives, wasn't it? Yeah. I think from Maryland. I'd have to go back and look it up. But this is crazy. I mean, when the world's richest guy says that you deserve death to 200 million people and puts a target on your back, that's serious stuff. Meanwhile, the Trump people are saying that they're going to run the White House differently. This is Donald Trump Jr. He's saying that the White House press briefing room is going to look more like the way Americans get their news. Now, and that Joe Rogan might be sitting next to Maggie Haberman from the New York Times. There is some truth to the fact that we are witnessing in real time the collapse, the deconstruction, essentially, of America's legacy media. I mean, when the Washington Post is now owned by a billionaire who hates unions, and when he refused to allow them to endorse Kamala Harris, millions of us, or many of us, including myself, canceled our subscriptions to the Washington Post. The New York Times routinely sane washes Trump and does both sidesism. They're doing it almost every day now. And they're losing, readership as a result of it. People are just keeping their subscriptions to play the puzzle. You've got, the big networks giving equal time to Republicans who just literally go on and lie. I was shocked the other day when I heard this on CNN. In fact, Jim Acosta had a Republican on, and the guy just lie after lie after lie, and Acosta was able to catch him on one or two of the 4 or 5 lies that this guy said, right in a row. But the people are just saying, screw the media. People are starting to get their news from, podcasts, programs like this, which is an opinion program. This is not a news program. I'm telling you my thoughts on these issues, not just about the issues. We really need news.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann program. Call 202-808-9925.
News without bias. We need a source of news that we can trust. Sadly, at the moment, we don't really have one. I'll be right back. It's the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive, for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed, doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. that is how that is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than a quarter. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated them, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to explain, can that really be me? Well, there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with a Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669. Please. Share the Thom Hartmann program with your friends. Our podcast, The Hartmann Report, is absolutely free and available wherever fine podcasts are available. And the entire 3-hour podcast is available over at thomhartmann.com.
You're a mean one, Mr. Trump. You govern with disdain. You stacked the court with chaos and left us all in pain, Mr. Trump. You've got a heart that's smaller than a microscopic grain. You're a cruel one, Mr. Trump. You separated kids. You built a wall of malice where humanity forbids, Mr. Trump. You deport a puppy just for chewing on your lids. You're a bigot.
Yeah, there we go. 35 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Picking up your calls here. Michael in Bronx, New York. Hey, Michael, what's up? Happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays. Greetings. You know, with the Hunter Biden pardon, I can't talk to you about I'm on the express bus in Manhattan, but it should come as a no-brainer. I mean, we know what's coming up, and I find that his life is in grave jeopardy under a Trump administration.
Oh, yeah.
The history of violence, hate, racism, sexism, illegal retaliation, we could make a long list. And had Biden not done what he did, I hate to think what could have happened to Hunter. So let's apply the term exigent circumstances.
I'm with you. You know, I think Biden needs to go farther. I think that Biden should right now preemptively pardon Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, all the lawyers who worked on Jack Smith's team by name. And frankly, anybody else that they can figure out is on Trump's enemies list. I think that he should preemptively pardon all of them right now.
Exactly. I mean, we're dealing with, once again, domestic terrorism and organized crime. There's just no other way to put it.
In the White House, yeah. I'm with, or not in the White House, in the Trump, in the planned admin. Trump White House, yeah. I get it. I'm with you. Michael, thank you. Dave in Federal Way, Washington. Hey, Dave, what's up?
Hey, not too much, Tom. Look, Angela Merkel's got a new book out called Freedom, and there's a quote in there that I think is the most important quote of any political leader currently. And the thing is Sherrod Brown, he did an interview with, I guess it was just CNN, and he, it was sad what he was saying because he's sort of right, and this is how they connect. Look, Angela Merkel said that she heard that Trump was transactional. She thought that meant, she gets something, he gets something, they cooperate on a deal.
Like a businessman.
But she quickly learned that she made a mistake. With Trump, it's not just that. There has to be a winner or a loser. And why that's important is because Americans, certainly all Trumpers, but not just Trumpers, are that way now. And how this relates to Sherrod Brown is Sherrod Brown was saying, and he's right, Sean Jordan, a Texas federal judge, he eliminated the necessity for employers to pay overtime. And look, Tom, I'm going to say something that's explosive right now, but it's true. Bernie Moreno, the Republicans, Donald Trump, they're not popular amongst workers or anybody, really. We're in an age of politainment, what I call politainment, where you've got these guys like Joe Rogan. They're just doing entertainment. They switch back and forth from political parties. And a demagogue like Trump, just all that does is benefit them. All right, and frankly, it's not the Democratic Party that is reviled. People just get their political advice from their first-line supervisors because that's all they can really feel. And their first-line supervisors or business owners tend to want tax cuts, okay? They want to join the Gilded Age, all right? And what the Democrats are doing is just not real. They don't feel it. It's like with racism, right?
Yeah, no, I totally get it, Dave. And this is where the Democrats need to fine-tune their message. You know, basically, just like, you know, when you call in, you try to make one big point, right? Democrats, at the most, should not be trying to make more than 3 big points and then pound them over and over and over again. And you see the Republican Party has been doing that for years. Dave, thank you. Excellent point. Charles in Miami. Hey, Charles, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
Good. What's on your mind?
You're gonna have to give me a little cough here. But love your show. And I can remember through the last Trump administration, we were worried that if he got back in power, you might go to jail and I might go to jail. But I've been saying it for years, and I'll say it again. We have to have an alternative, or we need to shut down Fox News, and we need to get the money out of politics. Because we're not going to get anything done. We're going to feel a lot of pain throughout this administration. And until we can have, you said a murder today. What they had with Obama, they had when the people came out, the Republicans came out.
Are you talking about the attempt to end Obamacare during Trump's administration?
Right. What's the name of the
the Affordable Care Act, when John McCain came up and stopped them?
No, I'm sorry.
You're thinking of something else. I'm sorry, Charles. I don't know.
Okay, well, they came out and they protested and everything. I forgot what they called it.
Yeah, Charles, your phone is breaking up really badly. I'm not sure why. Yeah, no, I'm going to have to put you on hold here, and well, actually, you haven't had an opportunity to make your point. So, Mateo, Charles is on line 1. If you can figure out what's going on with his phone. Jessica in Chicago. Hey, Jessica, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. So we went to my husband's cousins, and they're Trumpsters. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I felt like you were there in spirit. So we were there, and we were passed out these sheets to write down what we're grateful for and what our favorite food is. Mm-hmm. So my eyes were popping out when I glanced at my husband's answers. First question, what are you grateful for? He writes in big letters, the Constitution. I felt like I was sitting next to Thom Hartmann. I had a big smile on my face, and I remembered because he always tells me, now don't talk politics. Mm-hmm. So I was like so surprised. So Penny, who passed the sheets out, she is super religious, and she always says a prayer before the dinner. So she had everyone bring the sheets to her, and one of the Trumpster cousin brings his answers over, and he lays it on the table, and it says, he says, oh, a kid filled this out. And the first answer is he's grateful for President Trump. And here's the crazy part. The second answer, the food, favorite food, edibles. And everybody says, no way. A kid did not write that. So we're all arguing with him. And so his wife's sheet, she's grateful for wine and favorite food, mashed potatoes. So, Tom, why that sheet sat in front of me on the table, I couldn't stand it. So I snuck it off the table because I couldn't stand grateful for Trump, and I nonchalantly shredded it, crumbled it into a ball, and threw it in the garbage. So then we start going around the room saying what we're grateful for. And most everyone says family and friends. Yeah. So my husband is the last one to go. And he says, I'm grateful for the Constitution. Tom, you could have heard a pin drop in that room. It was silent.
Well, how do you dispute that, you know? I mean, that's sweet. That's sweet. So
and then...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Keep going.
It was crazy. So then I'm in the middle at the table, and I hear both sides of the conversations. So one side is crazy, absolutely crazy. Mike's cousin is saying Muslims are going to take over our country. And my daughter looks at me like she's crazy. It was Michael's cousin. She's crazy. And so then I have to try and tell her she watches Fox. So my husband's trying to tell her, you're crazy. And he says, and she's really fearful. And he said, do you understand there's only 2% of Muslims in our country? Which I don't think was the best answer. But then he was saying, where are you getting this from? And she was absolutely crazy. So then on my side, Penny, who's super religious, abortion comes up. And I'm like, uh-oh, I am so nervous. She's so religious. And she says, anyone who wants an abortion should be able to be allowed to get an abortion. And I'm like, wow. And so my daughter is so thankful. She's like so relieved. So we survived that, but it was insane.
Well, what a great story. What a great story. Jessica.
What great craziness, right? We survived.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
My husband, Tom, I was thinking, my goodness. Yeah, I thought of you.
Well, that's sweet. That's sweet. Jessica, thanks for sharing your story with us. I've been genuinely curious how people have dealt with this, and you're the first person to share a yes, we had Trumpers for Thanksgiving story. That's a good one. Thank you, Jessica. It's always nice hearing from you. We'll be right back. It's just about 45 minutes past the hour. Stay with us.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Yep, sure enough, it's your media support group for We the People. We'll be right back with more of your calls. And welcome back. Barry in Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Barry, what's on your mind today?
Tom, how are you?
I'm fine. What's up?
So I was just calling about your rant this morning about touting and uplifting Biden's achievements and how we should have been doing that. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you that that is exactly what I did, and that was my strategy. And here's I don't want to burst anybody's bubble or anything, but on every social media, I touted all of his achievements, from the CHIPS Act to the PACT Act to the infrastructure bill. I mean, I had a whole spiel. Mm-hmm. And I even got a group of my friends to do this, just tout all of his achievements. And social media was pulling this stuff down. Inappropriate content.
Are you talking Facebook?
Nothing inappropriate about it. It was all just his achievements. And they were encouraging people to naysay Trump. But when it came to touting Biden's achievements, Instagram, Facebook, they would pull that content down.
Yeah, I had probably, 200-300 emails from people over the last 2-3 months saying that they tried to post my articles from Hartmann Report on Facebook, which I post on Facebook every day. And I've only been censored twice on Facebook, and both times it was because they were articles. I don't know why but they took down articles that included criticism of the fossil fuel industry. But usually Facebook allows me to post my pieces. I'm pretty sure they don't promote them. No, they
don't make it into the algorithm, and that's for sure. And and how I know that is I was posting all of those achievements onto different groups, like-minded groups, and they weren't getting seen.
Yeah.
They were not getting seen, and Instagram was actually pulling them down and saying inappropriate content, which there was absolutely nothing inappropriate about touting all of his achievements.
Yeah. I think
anyway,
Zuckerberg had last Friday flew to Mar-a-Lago to have a private meal with Donald Trump, and probably Elon Musk probably joined them. The billionaires are getting together, the media moguls, the fat cats. We don't have a word for them this time around.
It is far bigger than we think it is, and it's going to be difficult for us to get our message out. That's for sure.
Well, the good news is that Blue Sky. Everybody seems to be migrating very rapidly to Blue Sky, and a lot of the national media organizations are officially moving their presence there. You've got a bunch of good progressive groups who have just kind of given up on Twitter. I still post on Twitter. I'm not going to shut it down. And by the way, if anybody's thinking about leaving Twitter, don't delete your account, because then somebody else can steal your handle and suddenly you've got a Russian troll posting as you. So don't delete your account, but move as much of your activity as possible. Yeah, bsky.app is the website.
Good to know, Tom. And you know what? Thank you for everything that you do, and I hope just nothing happens to Free Speech TV and Thom Hartmann.
Well, thank you. It's going to be a tough time, and the support for Free Speech TV is a big deal. But Blue Sky, by the way, BSKY, like blue, B like blue, sky, SKY, .app, bluesky.app. Barry, thanks for the call. Great to hear from you, and I appreciate the story. Sadly, it's such a common one. 49 minutes past the hour. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us.
I'm dreaming of a bright Christmas where every culture shares delight, with tables full of joy and laughter, and every heart feels warm tonight. I'm dreaming of a bright Christmas with dishes from around the globe. May our bonds grow stronger as we dine, and may the season truly shine. I'm dreaming of a warm Christmas.
Welcome back. 10 minutes before the hour. Yeah, well, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever the holiday may be for you. Greetings. It's the beginning of that month, right? Charles in Miami. Hey, Charles, you were trying to make a point before and your phone was breaking up and I couldn't understand it. You want to try it again?
Yeah. I'm wondering, is this better?
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay, wonderful. You know I love you, Tom. You know we've been hanging together since 2003. The thing is, oh no, there's no buts. No buts. The thing is basically, I've been complaining over the years. I've been saying that we have to find a way to shut down Fox News. You said no, we can't do it, and I said, well, there's too much money in politics. And my whole point was basically, I was thinking of the Tea Party. I couldn't think of the group. Mm-hmm. But what the Tea Party actually did, with their racist angst and all of their conspiracy theories, it brought enough people out that they actually decided to get rid of all the rhinos in their party. Yeah. All the Republicans in name only.
Yeah, the Tea Party began the purge, and then the Trump people amplified the purge. And I think the midterm elections in 2026 are really going to finish the purge. I think they're going to get all the non-MAGA Republicans out of the Senate that they can.
Well, I think what's going to happen is we're going to go through some pain as Democrats.
Yeah.
Liberals and progressives and conservative Democrats. We're going to have a turf moment where we're going to get rid of dinos only.
Yeah.
Because
that's why
Democrats in name only.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why I want Ben Wickler as the head of the DNC, because he's a solid progressive and he understands how to win elections, and he understands how to talk to people. He's only 43 years old. Louise and I met him, years ago. I think it was in 2008, might have been 2006, in Madison at John Nichols' home. And at a party, my recollection is it was like a Christmas party or something. I think it was a snowy day, but I might be wrong. Sometimes memory plays tricks on you. But I remember after meeting Ben, Louise saying, keep an eye on that kid. He's going someplace. He was in his late 20s at the time, and he looks young anyway. But he's been on our program a number of times. By the way, Sean just told me Pete Hegseth has been on our program a number of times. I used to debate him back in 2016. Oh, wow. Yeah, good Lord, yeah. And but Ben's a good guy, and I want to see him on. Charles, I need to move along, but thank you for the call. Spot on. I completely agree with you, and we do need to get money out of politics. It's a poison. Thank you. John in Seattle. Hey, John, what's up?
Thanks, Tom. I concur that we do need to get money out of politics, but my thought is with regard to RFK Jr., I think his policy positions sort of have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation, and the question is which one will Trump allow to emerge in his desire to appease Russia and destroy the country?
Yeah.
Can I elaborate?
Sure.
So the Dr. Jekyll part, obviously, is his historical opposition to vaccines, but the Mr. Hyde is his position as an environmental lawyer. I think he was part of the suit on the pesticide glyphosate, which revealed internal EPA collusion, and then his position on Fruit Loops, although it's been derided in the media, is basically correct. I think California has banned Fruit Loops as long as they use colored dyes, which are known to contribute to developmental disabilities in kids. And I think Canada has already prohibited the dyes. And so the question is,
who's going to show
what
up?
Will Trump? Yeah, what will Trump and his corporate thugs allow to happen?
My guess is that anything that reduces the profits of the food industry or the drug industry is probably not going to happen, but who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Bob Kennedy has a long history of being kind of a renegade. In some ways it's occasionally nutty, and in some ways he's spot on. I mean, he used to come on this program regularly, and I'd rather he wasn't in that position. And if I was lobbying a senator, I'd say vote no.
He should be EPA Assistant Administrator for Pesticides and Toxics.
Yeah,
he can do some
I'd go for that. I'd go for that in a heartbeat. Yeah. John, thanks. Good to hear from you.
Thanks.
Jared in Santa Fe. Hey, Jared, what's on your mind today?
Not much, Tom. It's pretty much the same topic as everybody else. There's a tweet that it was a screenshot I saved a while back that stated. I couldn't find the original poster of it, but it stated the Democratic Party is a CIA psyop to establish good Americans and their hopes and dreams and crush them. The thing is that ever since Obama, there hasn't been a good solid messaging. The media wouldn't air anything from Obama at all. He had to self-produce his own White House speeches, and they didn't catch the traction that they should have. And I understand Biden had a speech impediment, so we didn't really have a vocal mouthpiece, but it's like almost every week you get a caller that says we need a better message from the party,
and we do, and that's why I would be very optimistic about the future of the Democratic Party if Ben Wickler gets chosen as the head of the DNC. I've been saying up until recently I think Howard Dean should get the job, although Howard Dean apparently doesn't want it. So, Jared, I got to run. Thanks for the call. Spot on. Well said. Very well said. On the other side of the break, I believe David Pepper is going to join us, and we'll continue with all of these other conversations here right after that. Stay with us.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
We say fight back!
the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. That is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than 1/4. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated them, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to explain, can that really be me? Well, there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. Some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with a Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from the last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669. Please.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome to the third hour of our program. On the line with us, our buddy David Pepper, the lawyer, author of many books, including Saving Democracy, a user's manual for every American, political activist, former head of the Democratic Party in Ohio, adjunct professor at the University of Cincinnati College of Law, and the author of a brilliant Substack newsletter. If you have not subscribed, it's absolutely free. davidpepper.substack.com, spelled just like you'd think. davidpepper.substack.com for Pepperspectives. He's also over on Blue Sky at davidpepperoh.bsky.social. So, David, welcome back to the program. You've been talking about the autocracy model. Could you define that for us?
Sure. I mean, I try to use the state level autocracies that we've been seeing. And this one book I've written is called Laboratories of Autocracy. And I think it's a real preview of what's going to happen in the national level on the current path. You know, what's happened in these states is they basically locked out the voters, essentially through gerrymandering, but also through stripping powers away from courts, changing the way we elect or select courts, the types of stuff we're seeing in North Carolina. The people are kind of cut out of governing these states at this point. We're living this in Ohio, where I'm sitting. And what I've tried to describe in these books is that once that happens, the aim of government, honestly, is no longer about public service at all. It's about using government to serve certain private interests. And the public, because of the gerrymandering or the other mechanisms that lock them out, really can't stop it. And that's what we've seen in Ohio. And, you know, this is not rocket science. Academics a lot smarter than I am have written about this for years. But what I can do is describe what it looks like on the ground in Ohio. And what we've seen in the last 15 or 20 years in states where they've locked up these state houses and created a sense that people can't stop anything is we've seen sort of this broad corruption of government to simply be about serving private interests. You know, one of the best examples is in states like Ohio, you know, they're giving away the farm, public school dollars to for-profit, you know, private school models, be it charter schools, be it vouchers. We've seen, the takeover of utility commissions to serve the utilities and not the consumers. On and on and on again. It's this broader corruption of public service for private interests. And so when I see that happen here, and I see this new Doge or whatever it's called, where Musk is going to run it with Vivek Ramaswamy, it's going to be the same thing. We are about to see, the federal government put to work for certain private interests, and if as best as they can, they're going to want to keep the people from stopping it. So the autocracy model very quickly in states like Ohio has led to corruption and has led to rapidly declining public outcomes. And my worry is that's exactly what we're going to see at the national level, and it's what countries like Hungary and Russia have seen as well.
Let me run a thesis by you and get your take on it. Government always serves somebody. It always serves principally one group. And the way that our government was established in the beginning and the way that it has rebooted itself, post-Civil War, post-Republican Great Depression, is that we decided that government would serve the majority of the people, in a big way, the bottom 90%. Not screwing the top 10%, but, serving the bottom 90%. And then came the Reagan Revolution, where Reagan and all the Republicans started squealing that, you're serving people who don't deserve to be served, welfare queens, and that young buck standing in front of you in line at the supermarket is buying beer with his food stamps. And so America shifted and said, oh, well, I guess we shouldn't be serving the bottom 90%. Maybe we should do what the Republicans say, and maybe they'll let us have some of that wealth as we shift to the top 10% or the top 1%. And so, then Republicans shifted government so that it's serving the top 1%. I would say it's not serving the top 10%. The top 10% pay most of the taxes. The doctor, I have a friend who's a surgeon who makes around $550,000 a year, and he's paying 46% of his total income in taxes. It's like that. That's not happening if you're making $1 billion a year or even, $5 million a year. So we've seen this shift in government where it's now serving the top 1/10 of 1%. And now people are screwed, and they're going, what happened? What happened? And Trump comes along and says, oh, yeah, government is screwing you. I'll save you. And, of course, he's lying through his teeth. But it seems like these shifts are occurring in like 40-year cycles. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in all the attacks on democracy that we're seeing in states, and I think we'll see federally, are to keep the everyday citizen from being able to stop it. You're not, in Ohio, you're no longer being served by your government, Ohioans. It's serving a very narrow group. That's where the benefit goes of dollars to, let's say, educate. It's going to for-profit companies more and more, other states as well. And when you carve up the state so people don't have a say, it keeps us from able to stop it. You mentioned I'll reference another book, and I love that you're always reading books. I always go back to this book. Maybe it's hard to see. FDR and Democracy. You go back and read his speeches in the 30s. He was describing exactly. I always go through and read this book because it's both amazing how similar things were, but it's also really instructive that by calling it out bluntly in the way you just did, over and over and over, he won over the American people against the very forces you're talking about. So it is a pattern. And we've seen it recur again and again. And the truth is, if you cut the people out, that's who takes over, the very privileged, the very elite, the oligarchs. But when someone, and Trump did it this time, unfortunately, but it shows you that a Democrat can do it too. If someone comes along and calls it out as clearly as FDR did, he was giving speeches in front of Congress that were so blunt about this. Yep. And 6 months or a year later, he was winning 49 out of 50 states because the people saw it. And I do think it's on Democrats to go back and read who were the most effective at calling out the dynamic we're talking about. And when they had it, when they nailed it, the people responded. And I read these speeches, and as much as I admire a lot of politicians who are out there today, I don't hear a lot of people who put it as bluntly as FDR did back in the day. And it really showed that when the people heard it clearly, They saw it. They responded.
Yeah, I completely agree. And another thesis I'd like to get your take on. Joe Biden was the first president since Jimmy Carter to repudiate neoliberalism, not to embrace, free trade and low taxes for billionaires and corporations, and basically an anti-union environment. He aggressively went against neoliberalism. Had Joe Biden been an effective communicator, and he's not, he's got a stutter, but he also seems to believe that the legacy media will do his job for him the way they did in the 50s and 60s and 70s when he was coming up. Had he been an effective communicator, had he been out there 3-4 days a week like Donald Trump was throughout his presidency, talking to the media, talking to the American people, using that kind of blunt language, which he did occasionally use, he could have broken through, and Donald Trump would not be president right now. And I lay in a lot of the blame for that, not just at Joe Biden's feet, but at the feet of Jamie Harrison and the DNC. And it's one of the reasons why I'm endorsing Ben Wickler to run the DNC for their election in February. Now, you've been the chairman of the Democratic Party in the state of Ohio. I'm curious your thoughts on the thesis and on my endorsement.
It's funny you mentioned that thesis. You and I think a lot alike, even though we generally only talk on these shows. I completely agree. I mean, there was a major communications miss here. By the way, I'm a fan of Ben Wickler. I'm also a big fan of Ken Martin. I think he's a very good chair. Ken Martin's a good guy, too. So short of that, and those are both would do a great job. But on your thesis, I just think Joe Biden, for whatever reason, was unable to sell his work. Yeah. He would sell it at the State of the Union well, and then we wouldn't hear on the ground in states like Ohio much for months. Yep. The lieutenant governor of Ohio, Republican, takes more credit for the things that Democrats did out of Washington than Democrats ever did. That's who we hear about. And so I do think that the inability to translate a broader vision, progress, success was lethal. And I think by the time we got to the election, what the election was essentially an unpopular incumbent who had failed to sell a package that was actually not a bad package to sell. And I think back to the way that Obama campaigned or Clinton campaigned, where, like you said, they were there every day. They were out there. They could sell it every single day. I do think that lack of a daily pitch being made about what had happened and what was being done really was a failure. And I think it speaks to not just the party, but like the communications channels. Yeah. The assumption that it's just going to get covered versus the media showing up in that small town and making the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, it also points to how our media has changed and how, frankly, the Democrats haven't changed with it. And you will see, starting on January 20th, you're going to start seeing Donald Trump every single day out there talking about what he's doing, like he did for 4 years before. The thing that astonished me, David, is the post-election polling found that 56% of Americans, 87% of Republicans thought the United States was in a recession on Election Day. And when voters think the country's in a recession, the party in power always loses the election, virtually 100% of the time. And not only were we not in a recession, we had a better jobs market than since 1965. I mean, we had low unemployment, low inflation, the whole thing. But the majority of Americans, and that's not just a failure of the media, although it's a terrible failure of the media, it's also a failure of the administration to communicate.
I agree. You have to be out there. It has to be aggressive, or especially in today's world of disinformation and targeted social media, everything. If you're not out there aggressively pitching what you are doing every single day, you're just not going to get your message through. And I do think they went in with certain old assumptions that just are too dated to succeed with.
Yeah, they just figured that Chet Huntley and David Brinkley and Walter Cronkite were going to tell the country what's going on, and those guys are long gone. The great David Pepper, his books Saving Democracy, A User's Manual for Every American, and previously Laboratories of Autocracy. Some great stuff. Check him out, davidpepper.substack.com. David, thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care.
My pleasure. Always great talking to you. We'll be right back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So, despair is not an option, says Bernie Sanders, and Elon Musk is right about some things. I'll tell you about that right after the break, and I'll pick up your calls. And welcome back. Edward in Tukwila, Washington. Hey, Edward, what's up?
Hi there, Tom. It's Tukwila, Washington, right? It's billed as next to Seattle.
Yeah, got it.
So it's a suburb. I'm calling, heard about the pardon of Hunter Biden yesterday and had a brainstorm with my wife yesterday and came to the thought that, well, since corporations are people, maybe Joe Biden should pardon CBS and PBS and NBC and ABC and Free Speech TV.
Oh, interesting.
Podcasters. This could be 1,000 pardons. Of course, it's a wild notion, but it's a way to nip the Republicans in the bud. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine, Edward. It's an interesting idea. What would you pardon them for?
Well, that's part of it, of course, for expressing their opinion.
Here?
Yeah, preemptive.
I don't think you can pardon into the future. I think you can only pardon for past sins.
Okay. For past statements that.
I'm not sure that will protect them against civil suits either. I mean, this is the thing that this is how Viktor Orban sees control of the media in Hungary. Is he changed the libel laws and then just sued all the media for libel and ran them out of business and had his oligarch buddies buy them up, and now all they do is sing his praises all day.
I wouldn't know whether it would cover civil suits or not.
Yeah,
it would certainly. It would certainly rile up the MAGAs.
Yeah.
And
it's an idea. It's an idea. Edward, thank you. I appreciate keep thinking. I like the way you think. I look forward to your next idea. Thank you. Joe in Oklahoma City. Hey, Joe, what's up?
Hey, how are you doing? Fantastic program. And let me just say, let me thank your listeners and the people that call in. I learn a lot, and so many of them are right on the facts. I wanted to make one quick prediction. I don't think RFK Jr. will be confirmed. I think the Republicans will join Democrats to keep him out of there. They won't want him messing with Farmer's grip on Washington.
Yeah.
And a little fact towards you may not know, AIPAC spent nearly $3 million to unseat Sherrod Brown and Bob Casey. You have to do some digging to find what they were trying to get those two out there. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, that wasn't decisive. I mean, I think $20 million was spent on the Sherrod Brown race.
Yeah, but you guys got to think about where they put their money.
Yeah.
It draws, what they did to the squad attempted to do to all of them.
Yeah. Well, they took down what's her name? Pramila Jayapal's sister Sheila here in Portland. I mean, she was. They just took her down. It's incredible.
And a little bit of that money just goes into fueling, and they also tend to hit at different angles.
And they took her down with just vicious attacks. I mean, and very misleading in my opinion. Joe, I got to run, but thank you. Good, interesting point. Thank you. 22 minutes past the hour. I'll be back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stay with us. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. It's no coincidence that the time in Europe when the church ran the continent, from around the 5th century to around the 15th or 16th century, that 1,000-year period is referred to as the Dark Ages. This is what happens when religion controls politics, when religion controls the state, the nation, and every nation of Europe was controlled essentially by the Catholic Church during that period of time. It got busted up with the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century. This was what the founders of this country very much knew about. George Washington refused to declare himself a Christian. Thomas Paine wrote an entire book embracing atheism. Ben Franklin fled Massachusetts as a teenager to escape the religious threats. And Thomas Jefferson went off on it regularly. There's a whole piece about how the Republicans are trying to impose a new dark age on America. It's all laid out, all the quotes and all the links over at HartmannReport.com. Check it out.
In a world that's often harsh, and the nights can feel so long, there's a call within our hearts to make the weak feel strong. For the children, for the elders, for the ones who need a hand, let's stand together side by side and help them understand. We are their voice, we are their light, we'll lift them up through darkest night.
Not an option is the headline over on Common Dreams from the letter by Bernie Sanders. This was, if you're on his mailing list, go over to berniesanders.com and you can just, get on his mailing list. He says, today in America, we have more income and wealth wealth inequality than we have ever had. 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 3 individuals own more wealth than the bottom 50% of Americans. Today in America, we have more media consolidation than we've ever had. Some estimates claim as much as 90% of U.S. media is controlled by just 6 huge global conglomerates. Today in America, we have a political system that's increasingly controlled by the billionaire class. In the recent election, just 150 billionaire families spent nearly $2 billion to get their candidates elected. And let's be clear, this massive level of inequality is only going to get worse under Trump. If Trump gets his way, the very rich will get much richer and have more power, while ordinary Americans will get poorer and have less power. Under Trump, there'll be efforts to privatize Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the Veterans Administration, and public education, while at the same time making it easier for large corporations to destroy the environment, engage in bigotry, and undermine workers' rights. He says, we can't allow this to happen. He says, these are tough times. And he talks about, we need to educate, organize, expand our social media outreach, et cetera. We need to find grassroots leaders who are willing to run for local, state, and federal office. He says, these are tough times, but despair is not an option. The stakes are too high, not just for us, but also for our kids and future generations. We're all in this together. God bless Bernie Sanders. Now, he did also note that Elon Musk is right. There is waste and fraud in our government. Bernie points to the Pentagon. He says the Pentagon, with a budget of $886 billion, just failed its 7th audit in a row. It's lost track of billions. Last year, only 13 senators voted against the military-industrial complex, and a defense budget full of waste and fraud. That must change. So, do you think Elon Musk is going to go after the Pentagon budget? I'm not holding my breath, shall we say. So anyhow, we'll be right back. It's 27 minutes past the hour. I'll be picking up your calls on the other side of this break. Up next, Bill in Richmond, Virginia. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with you in just a couple minutes.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Defending America from the weapons of mass deception. I'll be right back with your calls. It's the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive, for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed, doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. that is how that is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than a quarter. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated them, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often, it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to exclaim, "Can that really be me?" Well, there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with a Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669. Please. Help support progressive radio. If you're listening to us on a commercial station, call their advertisers and let them know you're listening. If you're listening to us on Pacifica, or one of our many nonprofit stations, please support them when they do their fundraising drives. Thanks for supporting progressive talk radio, and tag you're it. So back when Donald Trump debated Kamala Harris, he was asked about world leaders and whatnot, and he went off on this thing praising a guy named Viktor Orban and saying he's a tough guy, he's smart, he's the prime minister of Hungary, and he loves me, basically. So who is Viktor Orban? Well, it turns out Viktor Orban is a guy who took over Hungary in a regular election, the prime minister, and then turned it into basically a neo-fascist paradise for right-wingers. All the media is now controlled by right-wing oligarchs. He's packed the courts. He's changed the Constitution so that they have things like gerrymandering and voter suppression, so he always wins every election. He throws people in jail for criticizing him, even on Facebook. I mean, this is what Hungary has become. Fox News loves it. Tucker Carlson did his show from there for a week, and that's what Donald Trump wants to do to America. You can read the whole thing over at HartmannReport.com. It's titled Trump's New Hero, the strong man who crushed democracy in Hungary. Check it out.
From the fields to the factories, the work never ends. But in the boardrooms, they don't call us friends. They sit high on the thrones, looking down on the rest, while we break our backs, trying to do our best. We're not serfs in a kingdom, just waiting for a nod. We're the heart of this country, we won't be robbed. You see, they like it when power flows from the top, where the bosses get rich and the workers just stop. But there's something they fear, something they hide. It's the power of the people standing side by side. Unions are democracy in the workplace, where we all get a voice and we all get a say. We won't bow to the lords in their suits and their ties. We rise up together and reach for the sky. Power flows from the bottom, that's how we fight. In a union, we know what's wrong and what's right.
There you go. Unions are democracy in the workplace. 36 minutes past. We're picking up your calls here. Bill in Richmond, Virginia. Hey, Bill, what's on your mind today?
Oh, nothing much on. Just trying to survive this cold weather.
Oh, yeah. We had freeze. I was walking on frost into work today. It's cold all over.
No, well, I saw that football game in Buffalo, so I don't feel too bad.
Oh, yeah, they got whacked. Apparently, it's because of the Lake Michigan and all the lakes in the Great Lakes, they're all warmer than normal, and so they're evaporating more moisture than normal. So you guys on the East Coast are getting whacked with the snow.
Yeah, or at least as far down, we haven't had anything except in the mountains. But I tell you what I was telling your screener I was when I asked about. There's always this talk about the oligarchs and on the right, or Republican. But the Washington Post had an article, the top 50 political donors in the country. And I'll concede the fact that the Republicans got more donors than the Democrats did. Ironically, the Koch brothers only donated $43 million, which is almost like chump change anymore. But the thing I wanted to ask you about was this, particularly George Soros. And I guess what happens, there are about 75 people, either politicians, mayors, whatever not, or prosecutors primarily, that Soros has backed in the last, 10 years. Of that 75, only 25 or so are still in office. But the ones who came up this last election cycle got their heads handed to them, even in California. And I'm thinking, if George Soros, I'm not telling somebody how to spend their money, but as opposed to apparently backing prosecutors that do not enforce the law or take a slow pitch toward it, to me, he should put his money someplace else. Because even in places like Los Angeles County, Harris won 75-25, and George Gascon, whatever it was, lost by 20 points.
Yeah.
Now, and I know we've talked about before about progressive, and, you know, I know Medicare and Social Security, all that. I understand that. And, you know, like I said, you know, that's different. But I think that one of the things that Soros or either Democrats, well, maybe not the Democrats even, is that people that live on the street in these cities, you know, get tired of all the crime. And well, for example, the woman over in Athens, Georgia, I was a prosecutor of the Lincoln murder trial. She said that she wasn't going to go for the death penalty. Well, that really didn't go down very well either with Democrats or Republicans in that area. And Athens, Georgia is a college town, so by definition, it's very liberal.
Yeah.
But, you know, she got voted out.
Yep.
So do you think the trend that people and I'm not saying so much to me a progressive, if he needs a cop, is no different than a MAGA guy if he needs a cop.
Yeah. No, I get it, Bill, and I always appreciate, you know, you as a reasonable conservative calling into the program with very reasonable questions and thoughts. First of all, you mentioned the Washington Post listing political donors. I've seen. I'm not sure I saw that particular article, but I can pretty much guarantee you that there's a caveat in that list, which is that when you donate to a politician or a political party, your actual campaign, the official campaign, your money is listed and as you being a donor, and that's why the Koch brothers only gave $44,000. You know, but if you donate to these dark money super PACs, which apparently accounted for about 14 billion of the $20 billion that was just spent on this election. If you donate to them, you never get listed in the Washington Post. And the overwhelming majority of the donations to the dark money super PACs were from right-wing billionaires. 350, in fact, different right-wing billionaire families, as opposed to around 7 left-wing billionaires. So number one, those numbers are largely meaningless. But as to the thing with the prosecutors, yeah, we had you know, the progressive prosecutor here in Portland who got voted out, Michael Schmidt, I think, on the program. I met him down in New Orleans. He and I were both speaking at a conference down there. Nice guy, you know, very thoughtful. Actually did a pretty good job. But I think what's happening, Bill, is that crime is not something that has a political label attached to it. I mean, you know, during the pandemic in 2020, we had somebody try to break into our house. And the reaction of the neighborhood that I live in was to fence the neighborhood. I mean, I now live in a gated community. I didn't intend to. You know, we didn't move into one. But, you know, everybody got together and said, okay, we're all going to kick in a couple $1,000 and you know, put up, you know, do something about the security here. I think that nationwide, people, you know, we've got a homeless crisis that, you know, I could build a case is the result of neoliberalism and Reagan's policies to a large extent. So, you know, I could politicize it that way, but wherever it came from, the homeless crisis, the drug crisis, the mental illness crisis, and again, I lay all those at the feet of massive inequality to some extent and government failing to do its job protecting the little guy. But whatever the cause is, when people are the victims of crime or when they simply witness it on their street, they tend to vote for the more law and order guy, for the more conservative guy. And that happened here in Portland. It happened both in our prosecutor's race, our DA race, and in our mayor's race. And it's happening all over the country. I don't think it has anything to do with George Soros supporting or not supporting. I know that he was supporting the Progressive Prosecutors Association that Mike, who was on our program, was a member of, or I believe he was. But I just don't see, you know, this is a partisan issue, Bill.
Well, Well, no, I know. Like I said, I think a person is progressive or a person is MAGA. Taking the two. If you need a cop, you don't sit there and ask them what party they're in or who they voted. But here's the thing I was going to ask you. You brought up something in this article. It said Soros, runs a dark money web of nonprofits that bankroll various candidates around the world who align with his progressive agenda. And this is in England, this is in France, some other places.
Sure.
But the thing goes in the term Open Society Foundations, which he's given $32 billion to in the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that sounds like a rounding error, on this last campaign. But, again, like I said, I just could not. Well, being a historian type guy, a lot of this stuff's gone in this country from the founding fathers on as to who was getting money from where. The original founding fathers were all fairly well off.
Sort of. I would say they were upper middle class compared to the British nobility. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. But
I mean, the richest of the guys who signed the Constitution or signed the Declaration of Independence was John Hancock, and his net worth in today's dollars was $770,000.
Well, yeah, and I always took that as a thing is that if you're somebody who's got your neck on the line and your family fortune and money on the line, it always inspired me that much more, and I'm sure there was probably some unaltruistic reasons for it, but people would do what they did.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks so much.
Yeah, good talking to you, Bill. I got to run. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season here, whatever it may be for you. Wish you Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or Happy Holidays. Thanks for the call, Bill. Great to hear from you. We'll be right back. It's 45 minutes past the hour. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be right back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stay with us. And welcome back. Barbara in Orange County, California. Hey, Barbara. Thanks for sitting on hold.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
What's up?
I got your email about the hidden history of the war on voting over the weekend, and I agree that, everything you're talking about, the Republicans are trying to privatize everything, and they want to make everything for profit, including the voting. And I've been doing some research and listening to your show, of course. And you've mentioned in the past the red shift that happened in 2004 when computers started being widely used. Yeah. And that was when the unadjusted exit polls and the final votes were compared. Yep. The discrepancies always favored the Republicans. Yep. And that's when the pollsters started adjusting the polls and making them match the final vote. Yeah. So I did some research, as I said, and I found this article by Ron Bayman, who's a PhD statistician, and he studied the 2020 election, and he found that the discrepancies between the unadjusted exit polls and the final votes of course, all favored the Republicans. In other words, Trump's final votes were always greater than the unadjusted exit polls, and Biden's final votes were always less than the unadjusted exit polls.
Right. In other words, they tried to steal the election, but they didn't quite get there.
Yes, yeah, and then I read also Bob Fitrakis.
Bob's been on this beat for 2 decades, maybe longer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I read his study, Are U.S. Elections Legitimate? And he said that Obama would have won by millions more votes, or should have won by millions more votes, according to the statistics. Yep. And so I'm really skeptical about this election because I truly believe that the majority of Americans are for inclusion and helping marginalized peoples, and I have a hard time with this this last election. And, the question is that you really raised in your book, and I haven't read it yet, but I intend to, is how secure are our elections when the voting equipment is privately owned and uses proprietary software? And I understand there's some places, like in L.A., I think they turned to open source voting. But I also saw something on Blue Sky where, I don't know if this is true or not, but in Romania, Elon Musk has offered to let them use Starlink for their elections. And a Russian won the primary. And I'm just wondering, if hackers, you were talking about earlier about hackers getting hold of infrastructure, why are they going to stop at all that infrastructure? Why aren't they going to go on to our voting systems, to stop them?
I had no idea Elon Musk was in the middle of the Romanian elections. Did they take him up on his offer? I mean, were they that's the question I had. I wasn't, it was something I saw in Blue Sky that somebody posted, and I wasn't really sure. Yeah, amazing. I saw the article that, amazing. I figured it was social media, which is kind of also Elon Musk. But Barbara, thank you. Thank you for the call. I don't know if our elections are secure or not, and I don't think that we should be having private for-profit corporations providing our election hardware or software. Thank you. It's 49 minutes past the hour. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us.
Chestnuts roasting on the BPA-free stove. Jackfruit sizzling on the side. Fair trade cocoa warms us, organic cloves, and almond milk in eggnog we've tried. Everybody knows kale chips and gluten-free dough help to make the season bright. Free-range veggies in a tofurkey show. Avoiding meats just feels so right. We say happy holidays to you, to keep it inclusive and diverse too.
There you go. Welcome back. Happy holidays and a nice vegan meal for you. That's what we had. We had 14 people over for Thanksgiving, and we had an almost entirely vegan meal. I think one of the pies had eggs in it, but that was it. And it was great. I mean, we've got some amazing cooks in our family. Anyhow, Francesco, listening on WSLR in Sarasota, Florida. Hey, Francesco, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I'm about your age, so what I'm about to say, I've witnessed anecdotally as well as, theoretically. I think, and you've mentioned this a number of times, and Bernie has too, but a big issue with the American dream and where it's gone is very simple economic math, I mean, in the 70s, if I was earning $10,000, I could buy a car for 1/5 of my salary, my yearly salary. Now it costs the average person a half of their yearly salary.
Yep.
Same thing with the house. You could buy a house for 3 times your yearly salary. Now it costs the average person 7 times the
10 times,
salary.
actually. The average home in America is around $460,000, and the average pay in America is around, I think, $43,000.
Oh, okay. I was assuming 60,000 around that, but
that's usually those higher numbers are the household income numbers, which are typically 2 wage earner households. So you have to reduce it for single.
Which is why 2 people have to work now.
Yeah, and the federal government loves to put out household numbers instead of individual numbers. They've been doing that largely since the 80s. It looks better. I don't think it's more meaningful, though. I think it's confusing.
I mean, I know there are other tangential, issues like, money in government. And if you just look at that, I know it's simplistic, but if you just look at that, I mean, that's the American dream right there. If you
I
have
agree.
to,
I agree. I've got, all those statistics, in fact, the fact that my dad bought a house for twice his salary. He bought a $15,000 house and he was making $7,500 a year back in 1957. And today houses are 10 to 1. There was 2 to 1 in the 1950s. That when my generation was in our 30s, which was in the late 80s, early 90s, when my generation was in our 30s, we controlled 21.6% or 21.4% of the nation's wealth, and today the generation in their 30s control 4.6% of the nation's wealth. I mean, these things are real, and this is a lot of what's driving the discontent of American voters that's being, frankly, exploited by the GOP. So yeah, Francesco, I'm with you. Each one of these things need to be addressed individually, and frankly, at the federal level. It ain't going to happen for the next 4 years, but I have high hopes for the future after that. Francesco, I got to move along. Thank you for the call. David in Palisade, Colorado. Hey, David, what's on your mind today?
Well, I'm looking at a Scientific American article from May 10th, 2021, and the title is The Forgotten History of the World's First Trans Clinic. And it's pretty amazing. This is in 1919 in Berlin. This fellow Magnus Hirschfeld.
Yeah, Hirschfeld's clinic was the first place Hitler went after when he became chancellor. Just within weeks of his taking power in Germany, that famous picture of all the books being burned by the Nazis, that was at his clinic.
Yeah, it was 3 months after Hitler was declared chancellor. I wanted to post this as a warning to everybody. Don't think he won't do it fast.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm expecting that the first few months of the Trump administration are going to be wild. But, we'll see to what extent people push back and to what extent, particularly politicians, but also, the systems hold. We'll see. David, thank you for bringing that up. That was great. Thank you. Tom in Media, Pennsylvania. Hey, Tom, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking the call. I'm skilled labor, and I think one reason that Democrats lost to Teamsters in skilled labor is you talk about what percentage of the population who parties represent. Well, the Democrats seem to be focused on the lower 20%, and we have really good health care, Tom. Really good health care. It gives us scheduling, priority, and everything. And all I had to do to get people to vote against Kamala Harris was to show them this Medicare for All of 2023 that 130-some Democrats have already co-sponsored. That would destroy our health care and make put us into real delays, and we don't want that.
I don't think it would, Tom. I think it would dramatically improve our health care, and you see it working literally all around the world. I mean, there are some places where those systems have been eroded badly by conservative policies, but we got 20 million people in America who have no health insurance at all.
And a lot of them are illegal immigrants
No, I'm not talking about illegal immigrants. I'm talking about American citizens. You've got 11 Republican-controlled states that have refused to expand Medicaid. Medicaid is, kind of Medicare for all, but the Republicans don't want it. They just don't want you to have health care, Tom. Good luck. Good luck selling that one. Thanks so much for being with us today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, don't forget democracy is not a spectator sport. As Bernie says, it requires all of us. And that includes you. So get out there, get active, tag, you're it. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Be good to the people around you and yourself. Take good care. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
It's the beginning of the winter fund drive, the holiday season fund drive for that matter, for Free Speech TV. This is how we keep this network alive. This is how we keep the electrons flowing into your home, however you are receiving this program. And it's how we keep, the people at Free Speech TV employed doing the marvelous jobs. I mean, this is a little tiny television network that runs on a budget that is 1/4 of Rachel Maddow's annual paycheck. That is what it is, right? In fact, it's less than 1/4. It's just amazing to me how much free speech has been able to do with how little. I've been on this network for, I think, 15, 16 years now, and it has been one of the great pleasures and honors of my life. The people that I work with, in particular the management now at Free Speech TV, Lydia and Michael and the other folks, just some absolutely extraordinary people. The fundraising crew, if I start naming names, I'm going to miss somebody, but I don't know how to tell you emphatically enough what extraordinary people the people at Free Speech TV are, and how worthy this organization is as an institution. Forget just the quality, the programming and everything is worthy of your contribution at this time of the year. Now, I realize a lot of us are just exhausted by the campaign, and a lot of us are gave away a lot of money during the campaign. Some of it worked out, some of it didn't. But if you can free up a few bucks now for Free Speech TV, now's the time to do it. We fell short in our last fundraising drive. We really need to hit our mark this time. 877-378-8669 is the phone number. You can go to freespeech.org/donate, or just freespeech.org and click the donate button and check it out. And while you're doing that, I've got just a great clip here of you of Lyndon Johnson talking about the power and responsibility of the press. This is from his speech on April 1st, 1968, before the National Association of Broadcasters.
It was a long time ago, the president once said that the printing press is the most powerful weapon with which man has ever armed himself. And in our age, the electronic media have added immeasurably to man's power. You have within your hands the means to make our nation as intimate and as informed as a New England town meeting. Yet the use of broadcasting has not cleared away all the problems that we still have of communication. In some ways, I think sometimes it has complicated it, because it tends to put the leader in a time capsule. It requires him often to abbreviate what he has to say. Too often, it may catch a random phrase from his rather lengthy discourse and project it as the whole story. How many men, I wonder, Mayor Daley, in public life have watched themselves on a TV newscast and then been tempted to explain, can that really be me? Well, there's no denying it. You, the broadcast industry, have enormous power in your hands. You have the power to clarify, and you have the power to confuse. Men in public life cannot remotely rival your opportunity, because day after day, night after night, hour after hour on the hour, you shape, and the half hour sometimes, you shape the nation's dialogue. The words that you choose, hopefully always accurate, hopefully always just, are the words that carried out for all the people to hear. The commentary that you provide can give the real meaning to the issues of the day, or it can distort them beyond all meaning.
And we've certainly seen that distortion happening. And the clarification, hopefully right here on Free Speech TV. With a $50 gift, today only, there's a mystery tote bag. With a $100 gift, Free Speech TV will plant a tree to reforest the world. With a $200 gift, you get the Free Speech TV Cozy Kit, which includes an exclusive Free Speech TV cookie, my book, The Hidden History of the American Dream, autographed by the author, and more. Some secret goodies. And with a $1,000 gift, you get a complete signed collection, all 10 of the Hidden History books, along with the Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. But the bottom line is, Free Speech TV needs your help now. Please help us kick off this fundraising drive with a bang. It is, we're still behind from last time around. We really need your help right now. freespeech.org/donate or 877-378-8669. Please.